Hello, welcome back to the show. I'm your host Kyle, and well, I'm a critic, and I'm going to be talking about a film called The Critic. Now, the word critic comes from the Latin criticus, meaning a judge, and there's few things more hurtful than being judged, and few people capable of hurting an artist more than a critic. Personal attacks, unfair observations, and unreasonable standards. You know what they say, opinions are like assholes. Now, speaking of which, Jimmy Erskine, played by Ian McKellen, is the dramatic theatre critic for family run London newspaper The Daily Chronicle. It is the mid 1930s, and Jimmy is treated like a god, a refined but vicious and lustful so called gentleman who is dubbed the Beast for his cruel reviews and their impact. Now, for 40 years, his readers have adored him for his scathing tongue, while his targets have feared his judgment. But his goose might be cooked when the newspaper is inherited by David Brooke, played by Mark Strong, who intends to trim the fat and increase productivity. Now, David is a respectable man who is a fan of theatre himself, but Jimmy won't go down without a fight. Enter stage left the beautiful Nina Land, played by Gemma Arthurton, a struggling yet beloved stage actress, desperate for Jimmy's approval above all else. Happy to impart his wisdom on the poor girl at first, he soon sees an opportunity present itself. A very special role for Nina to play, which will see Jimmy directly benefit, because to Jimmy, all the world is a stage and all the people merely pawns in a show for him. Now, even if that show turns into a story of deceit, blackmail, and murder. Now, The Critic is loosely based on a 2015 novel, Curtain Call, by Anthony Quinn, not that Anthony Quinn. Now, The Critic, as the film, is directed by Anand Tucker and written by Patrick Marber. It's loosely based as, besides many character names, it has little to do with Quinn's book. However, this allows for a fascinating story of greed and selfishness based around a truly great performance from Ian McKellen. Now, the critic explores a wide range of aspects of high society in 1930s London. It looks at homophobia, it looks at people's desire to be seen as righteous and upstanding, but drawn by their impulses and, most of all, power, and holding on to that power, the fear of losing power, and the weakness of those without it. Now, also, the control which someone holds over another human being who looks up to them, and how a cruel person can exploit that control to suit their own ends. The supporting players here serve their roles well, if hampered a little by a bit of lack of development. Arthurton is as endearing in the film as her character is on stage. She plays this determined yet fragile woman who's living life the way she wants, but she's at risk of exploitation, as many young actresses were at the time and honestly still are today. Mark Strong, as always, is great, playing the stiff upper lip side of British society. He's likable, and he has an element of decency. It is always noticeable when, even when this tragic story shows him succumbing to his temptations. But it's definitely Ian McKellen that is clearly the star here, with Jimmy being really the one fully explored character of the piece. And McKellen reminds us once more that while generations may have grown up seeing him as Gandalf of course, Lord of the Rings, he's capable of playing one hell of a bastard. Jimmy isn't simply bereft of kindness, and at one point, as I said, he acts as a mentor to Nina. But the thing which makes him such a vile beast is that when it comes down to it, the most important person in his own life is his himself, and his solipsism allows him to sink to depths which others would never dream of. Now, the lack of that same exploration of the film's other characters leaves it feeling a little unbalanced, however. Nina is so quickly under Jimmy's thumb that it's rather an unsatisfactory corruption. Also, the coincidences stack up, and every character seems unrealistically connected to every other character in some way. Perhaps this might be a casualty of the film's troubled release. See, when the movie first premiered at the 2023 Toronto International Film Festival, it was met to scathing reviews of its own, which led to reshoots. And this is really apparent as, in order to give the movie a more quote unquote palatable finale, the result is the film has a quite bland one instead. Uh, I didn't even know about the reshoots going in when I actually watched the film, but after watching it, it felt like a movie that didn't know how it wanted to end. It felt like a movie which ended, had a pretty dark finale, and then kept going to one which is a lot more traditional. Think of a movie like Seven, if Kevin Spacey's character pretty much got punished and people more or less had a happy ending at the end. That's kind of what this movie is going for. Like it seems like it has the potential to be a really dark film, but it also doesn't. I definitely think that with the reshoots that I read about afterwards, they were done to pretty much give the movie a like I said, a more palatable ending. And so, what at first the movie feels like it's building to this really dark exploration of the corrupting nature of power, it's instead wrapped up in a very nice little bow, which is actually more disappointing for me, at least. So the critic, it's an entertaining and theatrical tale of like Machiavellian schemes and the tolls that they take on the innocent. And Ian McShane is as brilliant as ever, and he elevates the film with help from his talented co-stars. But I just wish that I had a chance to see this movie in its unmolested 2023 form. I know that the poster and the title of this movie might seem familiar to some people because it actually was playing last year as part of the British Film Festival. So it seems like it has taken quite a while for it to be released proper, and that's, I think, because it's had so many reshoots and it's been pushed back because of the negative reception to the film's ending. And so, yeah, I really wish that I had have had a chance to see it at the British Film Festival last year because, yeah, I think I can't guarantee that it would have solved the problems, but yeah, I mean, it's really apparent that there's been problem that this movie has some reshoots in it. Things seem tacked on, and they're left unexplored, or they're not really expanded upon like they should be, and that it really gets to be an issue. And yeah, there's a lot of little things in the movie which pop up for maybe one or two scenes and then are never mentioned again. And this might either be because of reshoots or it might be because of how the film has been re-edited to focus on Ian McKellen's character. Uh, so the problem is that it's kind of a sad irony that this movie feels, uh, well, considering its story, it feels like it's been warped beyond its own nature to appeal to the very media critics whose corrupting power that it sought to explore. So I'm going to give this movie 3 out of 5. I think I do definitely see the potential in this movie to have been something much more interesting, much more darker, but I don't know how likely we ever are to see a director's cut of this film. It might be out there. We might end up seeing it someday, but yeah, I'm not really sure. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. So I'm gonna give this 3 out of 5, mainly for Ian McKellen's great performance. And yeah, it is an interesting film. It's just kind of disappointingly a disappointingly wrapped up nicely little happy ending kind of film, I guess. Yeah.